Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I want to welcome you all to tonight's meetup. We're going to discuss Adobe Muse. I want to go over a few things about GoToMeeting first. If you haven't been to one of our meetups, this will be helpful. First, I want to discuss the audio. I turn off all of your audio so we don't get any background noise. If at any point you want me to turn on your audio, just let me know. We use the chat down here. You can ask questions throughout the presentation. If you have any questions for me and I will happen to see it while I'm presenting, just ask questions on there. Or if you want me to turn your audio on, I will do that. And also, you should be able to see my screen. Just a couple things about me before we get started. My name is Mandy Prawley. I am the organizer of the Adobe Users Group, the Denver Adobe Users Group. We have close to 450 members now. We try to have one meetup every month, if not more. My company is Visual Persuasion. We're Adobe Training Center located in the Santa Fe Arts District, down on Inca and 8th Avenue. We're just a block off of Santa Fe. And we teach various Adobe applications. Adobe Muse, we just added a couple months ago. Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. I probably missed one in there. And the agenda for tonight's meetup, let me skip over here. I want to close out this window here quickly. The agenda for tonight's meetup is we're going to talk about what is Adobe Muse. We're going to take a look inside the software. We're going to talk about the main benefits of the program, the Adobe Muse workflow, and I'm going to show you a couple tricks that are unique to Adobe Muse. We'll go over the pricing information, and then you can ask me any questions that you have. You can also ask me questions during the presentation. I think this will be a pretty short demo, shorter than our usual demos, because there won't be a lot of instruction like our other demonstrations have been in the past. So mostly questions is what I was thinking for this presentation. So first of all, what is Adobe Muse? If you're not familiar with Muse yet, it's a software application that takes code out of the design process. So you can create websites without doing any of the HTML coding. It does that for you. You can design as if you're creating a layout for print. And really what Adobe did is they created this program and they geared it towards the graphic designer. So what I have here is I have the Adobe Muse welcome screen. And what I like about this is Adobe Muse updates their software regularly. Since it came out back in 2012, mid-2012, there have been 3 major updates already. In August, in December, and there was one just a couple weeks ago. And basically, they do their updates based on what users think of the program. So right here where it says Rate Adobe Muse, they give us your feedback, what's not working, and then Adobe Muse comes out with a new update. And basically, you get these updates because Adobe Muse is only available through the Creative Cloud, the subscription-based membership. And we'll talk more about that when I get to pricing. And I'm going to go ahead and open up a site here. Again, for those of you just joining us, feel free to ask any questions down in the chat during the demonstration. If I miss them, I will get back to them later. Also, if I can't answer them now, I will write them down and I will get back to you with an answer later. Since Muse is a new software, I might not know the answer just yet. Or if you have a more specific question relating to Dreamweaver and I don't know the answer, I will get back to you on that as well. Adobe Muse is a program that I can relate to because my background is in graphic design, in print design, and Adobe Dreamweaver is just not the program for me because I struggle with HTML coding. I know the basics, but it's just not the way that my brain works from a print designer standpoint. So I dropped Dreamweaver many years ago because my expertise is in Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, Digital Publishing Suite, and now Adobe Muse. So what I have here, this is what Muse looks like when you open it up. Now when you have if you have a new site, this is what Muse would look like when you open it up. But I wanted to bring you right into the plan stage. Many of the benefits, or one of the benefits of Adobe Muse is that it's intuitive, and that's based on its workflow. And I want to show you this right away. In Adobe Muse, the workflow is right up here at the top. It kind of guides you through the workflow that you would go through in designing a website, and it opens right up in the plan mode. This is where you would plan your sitemap for your website. So I have an example of one right here. This is not a real site. This is just content that I pulled from my other site and put on here. And I did this in about an hour. And you're going to see that Muse is very easy to use. So in plan mode, you set up your sitemap, which then you go over to design mode to actually design your site. So here I'm on my home page. So I'm going to go back to plan mode here. If you're a designer, you're going to love Adobe Muse if you use InDesign a lot because you're going to see many similarities to InDesign, like master pages, character and paragraph styles. There's an assets panel, which is just like your links panel in InDesign, and there's just overall a similar interface. Other benefits of Adobe Muse. You might have heard of Typekit when Adobe CS6 came out. Basically, what happened is Adobe purchased Typekit, and it's a selection of hundreds of web fonts that will export like web safe fonts. So you have all these options of fonts that you can use on your website, and you can be sure that they will show up on anybody's screen when they open up your website. So, for example, This happens to be a web-safe font here. Or a web font, not a web-safe font. I apologize. If you want to add a web-safe font, you would go in here and you click on Add Web Font. And it would take you into Typekit, which again is now owned by Adobe. And you can go through the hundreds and hundreds of web fonts that are now available to you and safe to use. And when you select one, it now adds it to your, it says one font family added to your web fonts menu. So now when you go to that list, it's now been added. And there that font is. What you want to be careful of is not using your system fonts. And when I talk about system fonts, I mean any font that's currently on your computer that's not a web font or a web safe font. Because what will happen is that will export as an image. And when it exports as an image and your website comes online, you won't be able to select that text, which is bad for search engine optimization, bad for indexing your site, and you just want to make sure that you're using web safe fonts or web fonts. So Typekit is really great with Adobe Muse. Another benefit of Muse, and this actually comes with Dreamweaver as well, is Business Catalyst. It's basically Adobe has its own hosting service now called Business Catalyst. So if you have a subscription to the Creative Cloud, you can actually host up to 5 sites for free, and then after that there's an additional charge per site. So when you're ready to actually publish your site, again, you have the workflow here: plan, design, previews when you just want to preview your site and check out the links for your site. But when you're ready to publish your site, it'll actually sign you in to Adobe Business Catalyst. And I have already done this with this particular site, so if I've made any changes to this site, what we'll actually upload is only the modified files. So what I'm actually doing right now is just creating a test site. And what it does is it creates a link for me, a URL that I can actually, so if I had a client, I can actually send this to them so they can actually look at this, test it on their browser. And this is all through Business Catalyst. So I can go through, check out the links. Now just because they have their own hosting site, just because Adobe has their own hosting site, doesn't mean that you have to host with Business Catalyst. You can still have a different web host. And they make it really easy to upload to an FTP host. You just go to File, Upload to FTP host, and you type in that information, and you're done. I apologize, this is going very slow. You would just type in that information, and I'm going to cancel out that. And one of the other benefits, and I need to hide the GoToMeeting here for a second because I need to see my panels. One of the other benefits that I think is really neat to Muse is the widget library. And I'm going to show you an example of a widget here later. But widgets are just a way to add interactivity to your site. You can add slideshows, menus, forms, panels, and I showed you there's some examples here in this test site here. This form was one of the widgets in the widget library. This was one of the tabbed panels. And they're very, very easy to use. Justin, are you referring to creating websites for tablets, phones, and such? Actually, with Muse, it's very simple. Actually, if you go back out to plan, the plan mode, this is actually where you would do that. You would click to add a tablet layout to your site. The question is, do you have to pay for Business Catalyst after your site goes live? That depends if you have a membership to the Creative Cloud. If you have a membership to the Creative Cloud, you actually get 5 complimentary sites, or you can host up to 5 sites for free. After that, it is, I believe it's $5.99 per month per site. I would have to check on that, but I believe that's what that is. Yes, it's $5.99 per month per site subscription fee. After the 5 sites for free, and that's if you have a cloud membership. I believe you get one complimentary site with the if you just got the Muse single app membership. So I wanted to show you a couple things, and then I will take more questions. I'm just going to show you a couple tricks that are unique to Adobe Muse. And I think I'm going to open a new site here. So what I'm going to do, I apologize, part of my screen is being hidden by the GoToMeeting panel. I'm going to go to my stroke options here, and this is just unique to Muse. I haven't seen this in any other Adobe program that I can think of. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a stroke. I'm going to give it a fill color first. And then I'm going to click on stroke, and what you can actually do is you can add a different stroke with to the different to the left, right, bottom, or top. So if I want, I can unlock this here. So if I wanted to give a thicker stroke width to the bottom of my page, and to the top, I can do that with the stroke panel instead of having to add like a rectangle shape or something like that. I can do that with the stroke, and I haven't seen the ability to do that in any other program, even a print program. So that's something unique to Adobe Muse. Rounded corners. So this is our web page. I can actually add a rounded corner up here. These are indicating the four corners of my page. I can, round just one corner of my page, and I can increase the radius of that corner. I'll just there, I rounded every corner. I can unclick those and just round one corner. Again, very easy to use. If you're an avid InDesign user, I think you could just open up Muse and just start playing around with it, and you might get the hang of it right away. And then I want to show you an example of a widget, and I have the widgets library open down here, and I'm going to select a slideshow. And there's several different examples of a slideshow. I'm just going to pick the thumbnail one. And widgets are so easy. You just take it and you drag it out, and it gives you an example of one. It puts sample images in. Again, like InDesign, if I want to change these out, placing images is very similar. So I'm going to swap these graphics out, and I'm just going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to find some new pictures. And then once I have those loaded, I'm just going to click in there, and those automatically load in my slideshow. And to get rid of the placeholder graphics, I just click inside of those and delete. And you can move the menus around to wherever you want them to be, the little thumbnails. If you want the thumbnails to be down here, and you want them to go across the bottom, you can customize them however you want them to look. It's real easy and quick to do a slideshow. So if I wanted to preview this, going back to the different workflow modes, if I wanted to preview this, And again, I just popped this on my page, so please excuse the lack of design. I could click through and I'm going to click back out of there. And each of these has a little flyout menu so you can change the settings on this. So you can change the transition. And then one more little trick that I want to show you. In my test site, I showed you that I had a Google map here and I had a Facebook activity feed. Even though Adobe Muse, you don't use any HTML code, you can add it to your site. So what I want to do is I want to add a Google map to my site. And in order to do that, I need to add something called arbitrary HTML. So I'm going to go out to Google Maps, and I want to add a Google map of our location. So I've already typed it in, and on Google Maps, it happens to be here. If you go to link and you click on that, it says paste HTML to embed in website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that code, and I'm going to go back to Muse, and I'm just going to paste. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to paste. And there's my map. You can do that with YouTube videos, Facebook activity feeds, anything that contains that arbitrary HTML that you want to add to your site. So I've already talked about pricing a little bit. If you were to purchase Adobe Muse as a single app membership, it's $14.99 per month. That's if you commit to 1 year. If you wanted to go month to month, it's $24.99. This is if you're not a Creative Cloud member. If you purchase the entire Creative Cloud, which includes every application there is, every Adobe application, that's $49.99 per month. So if you're using several applications, if you're using like Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, that's the way to go if you want the Creative Cloud. We talked about Business Catalyst. To add on additional sites, that's $5.99 per month per site subscription fee. And then I just wanted to end with a couple of resources that I think are kind of neat. The Adobe Muse, if you go to the Adobe site, these are all together. The widget gallery. If you go into these and you click on them, it'll actually let you download the Muse site. So if you find a widget that you actually like that somebody created in here, you can download that and you can open it up in Muse. And this is one that I like to go to, the Adobe Muse site of the day. You can see what people are actually creating in Adobe Muse. The one that I just looked at, I noticed there was a lot of lorem ipsum in this site. This is a site somebody actually created and they're selling. It's a template site. So that's the site of the day today. And then if you create a site in Adobe Muse and you want to submit it for the site of the day, you just click here and you can submit your site. Has Adobe Muse has Adobe indicated that Muse will be offered outside of the cloud? Um, Not that I've heard of. They're keeping it subscription based because they want to keep offering those updates. The last update, there was only 2 months in between the last two updates. So I imagine that they're going to continually keep updating this program, and that's why they're keeping it in the cloud, if that makes sense. More questions? What you can do if you want to edit HTML, what you can do is you can actually export. Let me go back here. You can actually use Muse and Dreamweaver together. You can file, export as HTML, and you can open it up in Dreamweaver or an HTML editor, and you can edit the HTML that way. You can also go to Object, Insert HTML, and you can insert HTML on your page that way as well. And that's another way that you could have put this map on here. So you could do part of your site in Muse and then bring it into Dreamweaver. That is a good question. Everything I've been reading, they said complex e-commerce sites they're recommending to continue to build in Dreamweaver. I'm not sure. I can look for examples for you. I myself haven't built one. But that's just the research that I've done. Is they're saying that those types of sites to continue to build in Dreamweaver. If anybody has done anything with a shopping cart in Muse, feel free to speak up. Sorry, the question was, can you build a store in Muse with a shopping cart? And if anybody would like me to turn their audio on, let me know. The question is, what about exporting your Muse site into WordPress? I believe the same would be possible. I haven't done that myself. I know if you can export it as HTML, then then that should be possible. I will have to get back to you on that one, Cheryl. I'm going to write that one down. Any other questions? I'm going to stay on for another 5 minutes if people are still on. For those of you that are leaving, thank you for attending tonight. You can send me questions. I'm going to type in my email address here for those of you that don't have it. Justin, I'll probably be scheduling our next meetup later this week. And I imagine, let's see, we're in April. I would like to have another meetup in April since we didn't have one in March. Cheryl, do you want me to go over the FTP? If I go to File, Upload to FTP host, and then you'll have this information from your host, the login information, the password. If you've already uploaded to them before, you'll only do modified files. So this will be nice if you're just updating the website. If not, you're gonna do all files. You'll have the domain name typed in here, and you'll just press OK, and it'll be done. And with all my experience of uploading to FTP hosts in the past, this is one of the easiest I've seen. Just a second. There you go.
Thanks. Okay, so when you're in that dialog box that says upload to FTP host, do you have to save out the Muse site as HTML code and then or does this just do it for you?
This will do it for you.
Version of Muse or something, because I didn't see this. I don't know. It's just a book I was reading said you had to save it as HTML code and then upload it to an outside FTP site.
That's another way you can do it, but this is this is obviously a lot easier.
Yeah, it sounds a lot easier. So
Was that
FTP
the
host
beta
would.
version? Was that
Oh,
was that one of the first books that came out on Muse?
yeah.
Okay, maybe this did come up in one of the updates.
Okay. Maybe. Okay, I'll see if I'm current. So your FTP host, is that your Gator,
That would
HostGator?
that would be your, yep. Like my host
And
for my site is Bluehost. That's the one I've used for several years. I've always just gone with them.
uh-huh,
There's several hosts out there. Like GoDaddy is a web host, and um,
right. Because right now we have HostGator and we have all our email and everything on that. So my supervisor wanted to keep it the same.
mhm.
And that's what I was trying to figure out what all the rest of this stuff meant. Like what's the log? So the login's all the information he has to get into HostGator.
Right, he should be able to help you with that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mandy.
No problem. To answer your question, Kevin, I don't do a lot of web design. I'm gonna start doing a little web design with it. I do a lot of print design, but because it's so similar to InDesign, it's been a real easy transition into Muse. I just, because of my business and stuff, I haven't been taking on any new design clients, so I haven't had a chance really to um, do much with it yet, other than um, just my own stuff. And I gave up with Dreamweaver many years ago because it just wasn't for me. Not that I don't think it's a great program, it's just not the way that my brain works. It's, it's more for web developers. It is a lot to learn. I did record this meeting. I'm not sure if it worked. I was just testing this out through GoToMeeting. So I will test the recording later, and if you all want me to make it available, I will. Any other questions before we sign off for the night?